Okay, before we get started, this is the new year. This is my first TBR from the library, The Thief of Souls and the Devils by Joe Abercrombie. And then I want to give a special shout out to Wabano. You know who you are, for giving me this beautiful quilt blanket. I love it. I love it. So pretty. So, I'm going to put that just in the back of my chair here. And I think that I'm almost ready to talk about my 10 favorite books of the year. Okay. I'm coming in. You guys know Tori? She's great. She's awesome. She really is that girl. Tori does... Oh, give me a second because this video may be long. So buckle up. Nothing like H2O to get you through the day. But anyway, every year Tori gives us her top 10 books of the year in order. And I'd be like, bitch, what? How do you do that? However, I'm going to attempt to be like Tori and give you my top 10 books in order. But I don't know how much I'm going to keep. I'm going to film. You're going to watch me do that. And I'm not going to say the words or anything, but I'm going to put just a little clips of what I'm thinking. So let's get into it. All right. I got 3 books. Okay. So I guess 2 of the books I don't have a physical copy of. One of them I for sure want a physical copy of. I randomly feel nauseated all the time, so I needed to get some Altoids. Okay, I think I figured it out. I didn't do much talking, so you didn't see it. I just was going through it. I feel pretty confident about this, but I didn't spell anything right either. So let me put them in order. I am realizing that I need to move stuff over because it is like covering the screen. And I hope that these books don't fall on me. Follow me. There's a honorable mention of 11, but it's really 11, but I like the sound of 10. Does that make sense? Yeah. You get what I'm saying. Okay. Starting off number... Ooh, we need to go 10 to up. I went mofo. Let me do it again. I'm sitting here and I'm editing the best books and I forgot. So this is editing Brie. I know I have the same thing on because I'm editing right now. But I forgot to mention, because it's supposed to be 12 books, right? I forgot to mention just a fantastic ride, and you've already seen the vlog, so I won't do anything too much or explain too much. But the Game Changer series, written by Rachel Reed, which is a hockey romance. I never thought in my life I would be talking about a hockey romance and best books in the same sentence. But I love this books. I love these books. I loved how each book really got you to understand a different type of queerness, a different type of gayness, how masculinity and femininity are represented in relationships that are not as forefront, or these are men who are dealing with these emotions and thoughts about them being gay or bi or queer, and them having to be a part of hockey, which is a very masculine, heterosexual, normative type of sport. And to watch them fall in love and choose themselves and choose their partners was so beautifully done. And I am obsessed with this series. I do plan on rereading a few of them because I know that season 2 of Heated Rivalry comes out in 2027. But I truly loved most of these books. There was a book called Come and Go, I believe. It wasn't my favorite in the series. It's the one I didn't give a 5-star to. I gave every other one 5 stars, but not this one. But other than that, it was a fantastic read. I read all 6 books in less than 2 weeks at the end of December and had the time of my life. So I wanted to mention that book series as well. Is a book called Passion Tide. You may have heard me talk about Passion Tide early in the year, and it is a book that is set in a Caribbean country, and it follows the story of multiple perspectives of women who is dealing with femicide in one way or another, but they're all coming together, and there's a lot of pushback and fighting for women being protected because there is a Asian woman on the island who was killed by this guy who is hunting women down. And just how that book just came together, the important themes of us understanding that femicide typically happens from someone that is in the family of a woman, and how prevalent it is around the world, and how many women are being killed at an alarming rate daily. If you go to a website called UN Women, it will give you a lot of facts on the rate in which women are being killed around the world. There is a stat of like 137 women are being killed every day and through interpartner violence. And this book just felt like it was just really giving us the real. I love a book that is steeped on reality and the history of things that have happened to people. And because I am a woman and I also am familiar with cultures that I'm even a part, that I'm either a product of or have seen, you know, other people be in relationships where the end result is death. And I won't even say people, women. And the end result is death by their partners. And I also have some personal experiences in these things as well. So for me, reading this book just really reminded me of something that I don't always think of because I am not currently in a partnership with someone that is being violent towards me, but it's something that I don't always think about on a daily basis. And I felt like this book really required the reader to understand the full extent. I cried while reading this book. I shared in their pain. It just was a very revelating book to me that it just really touched my soul, and that is why I had to add this book to my list of favorite books of the year. Passion Tide deserves all the love. Those women deserve all the love and all the support, and women who are currently living and having to deal with that very real realization that they could die. It just really breaks my heart and it fucks me up really. And I was really moved by this book. Number 10, technically, is a book called Why I Love Horror. This book was written by this woman. She has an Instagram, I think it's called Mother of Horror or something like that. And her name is Becky Siegel Spratford. This book had so many entry levels from so many authors who write horror. It has books from like Grady Hendrix, Paul Tremblay, Tananarive Due. There's just so many beautiful authors in here who is talking about why they love horror. And I won't even lie to you, some of them, of their stories, made me be like, man, maybe I should read their book. They're just authors that I knew of, but just didn't know too much about. And the reason why I had to add this to my list, because even though it was a nonfiction, and I do read nonfiction, it was like one of the best books I read. And a lot of the stories really sat with me of why the authors love horror. And I think this is just also a beautiful concept. Like, I'm sure so many of these authors are getting asked, hey, can you add a book, or not a book, but like a piece or a short story to whatever, to make it like some kind of compendium of stories about horror. But in this book, we're asking the authors, why do you like horror? What have influenced you to be the horror writer that you are today? And I just think it was really dope, and it was written very well. There's even a story from Rachel Harrison and Victor Lavelle, who we all know that I love, Josh Malerman. Read this book if you're looking for some horror authors that you've been like, I'm wondering if I want to try their stuff. I guarantee you, by reading Why They Love Horror will convince you. There was not one story in this book that I was like, "Ugh, that ain't great. I don't like it." It really was revealing to me the person behind the books that we love. This next book touched me in a lot of ways because I did a review of this book on TikTok, and the author responded and was saying how she typically does not read or be in reader spaces, and that her family told her to watch the review and that she did, and she really appreciated the words I had to say about this book. And the reason why I think this book is also special to me is because as a licensed therapist, I don't always like mental health representation in books, because I feel like it reads as if a person just Googled something and just put some shit on paper, and not really understanding the true complexities of some of these disorders that people want to put in on paper, right? There's a lot of different things. I personally believe every disorder in the DSM-5, which has its own issues and not researched in a way that gives it a lot of credibility on my end. But I believe that every disorder is a spectrum, and this book is definitely leaning into that spectrum of it. And this is Sonora Williams' book, Whisper of the Lake. Whisper of the Lake follows two main characters. They are women and they grew up together. One of the women was in a pretty bad household and had a very traumatic thing happen to her at a young age, and her mom was very abusive. And when something terrible happened, the other character, who's her best friend, dad kind of like took her in and took care of her and made sure she was okay. And they always played together and was just the best of friends. Eve is the one who grew up in like the bad household situation, and Rose is the one who dad was a social worker and helped take care of Eve and like relocate her to live with her grandma. But Eve she had a rough life. She had a lot of stuff going on, and because of that, and the things that she did, it really hurt her friend Rose, and Rose didn't want to be friends with her anymore. So one day, Rose is just doing whatever she's doing, and she gets a phone call from Eve's sister saying, "Hey, have you seen Eve? I haven't gotten in touch with her. This is not likely of her. Can you help me find her?" And through reluctancy, Rose says, "Okay, I will help you this one time." And because at this point, the little sister don't know what Eve did to Rose that made it just unforgivable for Rose to forgive Eve. But Rose was like, "This is my friend. She was my friend, right? I cared about her and I want to make sure she's safe." So she goes on this mission to try to figure out what happened to Eve. And then you just keep getting met with like tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. And then you also learn a lot about Eve's mental health and how trauma happens in the body and what she did to keep herself safe. But Rose viewed it as, "You betrayed me, bitch. I'm done fucking with you." And I just really think the traumas, especially when you experience sexual trauma, I think it was written really well and really thoughtful. And even though it may have made you very angry towards one of the characters at first, a lot of stuff was revealed in a way that felt authentic and made sense to me. So I really, really love this thriller. And Sonora Williams, girl, you forever got a fan out of me. Another book that I read towards the end of the year, and it's typically not what I read a lot. I actually quietly make fun of this genre that they call romantasy, and it's just out of fun. It's not like I'm really hating on it or anything. I just the only other book I read that I would consider romantasy was The Fourth Wing, right? And I was like, whoo, this is a lot of spice. So that was just like my barometer on it. And then I just like fell off and didn't read any more romantasy. And then I met this author at a Black book convention, and she talked about how the male main character was based off a character in another series that I read. And like, I was so excited when she said it, and I said something and she responded, and I felt like there was like a vibe, you know, between us, even though she probably have no idea that I exist for real in real life. But in that moment, I just really felt connected to the author, and I really wanted to read the book that was inspired, that one of the male main character was inspired by one of my favorite villains. And if you're like, Brie, what book is it? It is Minion, written by Ellie Banks. Anyway, this book right here, Our Vicious Oath, this is the special edition copy. I got it from Aloria. I think I paid like $14 for it at the time. I do not have a description. I just went so I can get this book. I wanted to, I think a couple years ago, I made a like mental note that I want to own my favorite books. I just want to own my favorite books. I don't want to own 3-star, 4-star. I want to own my 5-star fave books, and this was one of them. And this follows the story of Malachi and Khadijah. If you're looking at the map here, this is the map of their realms, of like the places in which that they rule over. So it follows the story of this guy named Malachi, like I said, and he is from the Apollyon Palace. I think that's where he's from. Yeah. And then we have Khadijah, who is an Aether princess or queen, I believe. I hope I'm not messing that up. So both of them are very strong immortals. The book starts off with Khadijah really owning her strength and showing us how smart she is with war and war tactics, because she is head of her father's army of like female assassins called the Nikita. And she is thinking that because I have proven that I am a great warrior, great fighter, my dad should at least hear me out when I say I don't want to marry this man who has a tendency to kill women after he married them if they no longer is useful for him. So before her wedding night, she goes to this house of fantasies, let's just call it that. She actually owns it. And she walks up to Malachi and she says, "Drop them draws," essentially. And jaws was dropped, moans were made, feet was up in the air. Next day, she calls herself trying to walk down the aisle, and all hell breaks loose. And then she becomes a war of prisoner to the king of the Apollyon Palace, like I was showing you guys earlier, the Apollyon Palace. And, you know, it becomes a enemies to lovers trope. You know how it goes down. But the smut in this book is probably the best I've ever read. I'm not like I said, I wouldn't say disregard what I say about fantasy. I'm just saying, like, I know some of you read fantasy every month, every week. Y'all got a romance and a fantasy in your hand. You know, I'm not saying disregard me because I don't read a lot of fantasy and romance, but this year I did read a lot of fantasy. That was one of my secret goals. And I just felt like this was written well. I really loved how both of the characters interacted with each other. I love how they schemed against each other. I just felt like this book was just really good. There was like nothing else. I had no critiques. I had nothing. It was great. And I was just not ready to have another 5-star in this year. I was like, well, no, it's probably done. And, you know, yeah, I wasn't expecting to have another 5 read. It was crazy that at the end of the year, I had like 7 5-star reads in a row. And I'm like, you know, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. And this is one of the books I wanted to add. And I just thought that I didn't include one book. So there will be like another honorary mention as well. So I had to go ahead and add that to my list. But This book really, really touched my heart because if you know me, you know that I love watching sci-fi TV shows. And one of my favorite shows of all time is Warehouse 13. And this book pretty much gave me this, but make it gay and make the artifacts just focuses on paintings. And that book is The Macabre, written by Kosoko Jackson. I'm really sad I didn't get a chance to get this book signed by him, but looking at the bottom where it says a picture is worth a thousand nightmares, I truly felt like that's what this book was. It follows the story of this young boy. His name is Lewis Dixon. And I won't say young boy. This is a young man, right? This is an adult fantasy novel. And Lewis is having the ability to really recreate these masterpieces that are stuck in his head. And if he doesn't do it, he gets into a lot of pain. There's a lot of things physically that happens to him. And as he is grieving the death of his mom, he gets visited by someone who says that, you know, you have a legacy to fill. We need you to come to the British Museum and we want you to submit your artwork to this like exhibition. He gets there and realizes it's much deeper than that. He's actually there to look at paintings, and he realized that these paintings have magic in them and that his family is a part of that legacy and that they want him to work with them at the British Museum to track down the other paintings. And the only way that you can track down these paintings is if you go inside the paintings, find the word or the name of the paintings, and then you can be released from it, etc. And there's also a moment of like yearning, like low-key yearning for Lewis and another character. And I just felt like the stakes were high. The fact that Lewis was not really, I don't think at first he was understanding the real danger he was putting himself into, and things got life or death real fast. I think the pace of this book was done really well. And I really love that even though we have like a little, what is it called, inkling of romance, it is not the main part of the story. It's damn near a footnote. That's how much you don't get it. And I just really felt like this book just really got me excited as a person who loved Warehouse 13. And I really wish that the author would make this a series, even though it's a standalone. But I would have loved this a series and looking at other artifacts, because I think this would have been dope as a series, but we don't always get that. But thank you for this, Kosoko. I just want to let you know also that I'm going to be talking about, I have like 3 series that are a part of this list because they had to be, like they just had to be, and I'm going to try my best not to spoil it. Actually, I won't be spoiling it. You'll be fine. Okay. Now, the next best books of 2025 for me. I own all 3, but I haven't read the 3rd one yet, so I won't talk about it. But I will give a special shout out to Olivia Reed Latte, who has contributed to 2 of the books that is on 2 of the book series that is on this list. And let's talk about the second book series that her and my friend Monet, and I think you guys remember her, she had a channel, really raved about this series, and I'm raving too. So this is The Last Magician. This is the first book, and this is the second book, and they are by Lisa Maxwell. You can see some tabs happen here, no tabs happen there, but these 2 books were fucking fantastic. They are thick. They are thick. They are not small books. I think both of them are over 500 pages, and I think it's 4 in the series, I believe. I think it's 3 or 4 in the series. I can't remember. But I really like this book. And The Last Magician, it follows the story of this girl named Esta. And Esta is a really talented thief. Do you hear me? She is a robber, a snatcher of goods. She really is. And one of the cool things she has about herself is to manipulate time. And y'all know that I love a time manipulation in a book. If we are manipulating time, going back in time, forward time, freezing time, anything that has to do with time, holla at your girl. So Esther is giving the task by this man who is like a father figure to her to go back in time and stop the magician from doing something that could have like a lot of catastrophic consequences. And on her way of doing this, she goes back into time and she finds herself in the vicinity of the magician, but there's other characters who are there as well, and she has to figure out who to trust, how she's gonna complete her mission, and what she's willing to sacrifice in order to make sure the mission happens. And that is like the best way I can explain it. I think it's really dope. There's a woman in the story who's really good with knives. And I was like, all right. Okay, Femme Fatale, love that for you. And I just really think that this was written really well. I love the pace of it. I was a little apprehensive because, like I said, this book is over 500 pages. So I was like, whoo, I don't really like reading tomes like that because I'd be like, girl, you can just get to the point. Huh? Can you? Just wrap it up or something, but I didn't feel that way with this book or The Devil's Thief as well. I read both of these books this year, and it just continues the story, and we find out the person in book 1 was really betraying them, and they found it out, I think, at the end of book 1, and because of the magic that the person who's betraying Esther has, it's really hard to beat him. So she has to enlist other people to make sure that this man doesn't cause havoc. This next set of books, I want to say thank you to Ashley from the realm of Kid Lit Comics for recommending this book. And when she recommended this book, I read book 1 and then book 2 just came out and I lost my fucking mind. I gave it 5 stars and I just really, really love this series. And I found the first book, a special cover at one bookstore a while ago and found like the matching book 2 special cover like days ago. And I said, oh, woo! This is a great time. So, we are talking about these 2 books. They are middle grade. If you are new to my channel, you know that I really love reading middle grade novels, specifically middle grade fantasy, mystery, and horror. I love reading in those genres within that age grade. Within that age range. I hate that my allergies are acting up and making this difficult for me because I have so many more books to get through. Okay, so The Last Dragon on Mars follows this young guy. What is his name? Lunar Jones. It follows Lunar Jones, and he was born on Mars, and he was also an orphan. And out of nowhere, not out of nowhere, things happened to him where he ended up in this cave and heard this voice of this very like strong presence and realized that it was a dragon. And at this point, he is kind of like scared, but also intrigued. And when he got found out, he was then put through trials and tribulations on being this dragoon. Even though there were some people who were against it, some people didn't think this is what he should be doing. Some other people have been training for a specific like time of their life to be this dragoon. But the beauty about this is that dragons in this world get to choose their dragoon. They get to choose who they bond with. So the other people didn't even have a chance if this dragon chose him. And I just think that the dragoon and the dragon, because they both were kind of orphans, I think that it was really important that they both were like together and helped each other on the mission, which was to defend another Planet Dragon. I'm trying not to spill. And just watching the confidence grow into Lunar, his strength and his connection to the dragon increase. I just really found that this was such a beautiful story. And I think it's an important story for young kids to know, like, you can find your strength within you. Your voice matters. You do not matter because you are young. You do not matter because you came from a specific circumstance that the world tells you, if you've had this circumstance, then you are not valid and you're not cool and you're not this. This goes against all of those things, so I really love this. And then we had the Rise of Neptune, which was book 2 in this series, and it follows the story of Lunar now having to have command over this army and having a relationship with this dragon, and now they're trying to fight against another dragon named Triton, who is trying to really kill humanity and rule the world and do it in such a vicious way. But he has a secret weapon that makes it harder for people to defeat him. And it's up to Lunar to figure out what that secret weapon is, and if that secret weapon can help him consensually defeat this dragon. So I really liked this book as well. It to me, book 2 was a little better than book 1, but don't at me. Don't at me, but I really like this. This next book is a book that I think it's on my channel. I have a vlog of me reading this book from start to finish, and I read it with Alicia, who is one of my friends on the YouTube world, but also in real life. But I met her on the YouTube world, and the book is called King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby. This is the most recent book that he's read. As of now, I've read every book that he's read, and I don't think I've given any book less than a 4. He is my favorite crime fiction writer currently. I don't think anybody is fucking with S.A. Cosby, because you can't. This follows the story of 3 siblings, Roman, Dante, and Nevaeh. They're all 3 siblings. Their dad just got into a very bad accident or injury, and Roman doesn't live in this town anymore. He left, but he is required to come back home to help the family business, and his dad runs a mortuary. And while they're trying to figure out what happened to the dad, Dante is then getting in trouble, and now his big brother, Roman, who came back into town, has to help his little brother get out of this situation, while also Dante and Roman is not being truly honest with Nevaeh, and Nevaeh is feeling very left out, feeling like they don't care about her, and she is the one to have to be like the responsible one and pick up the pieces and do a lot of things to make sure that the business is still ran right. And as a Black woman who grew up in a Black community, I definitely resonated with Nevaeh a lot, of like how things can just fall on you, and people think that, oh, I don't want to tell you this because I'm trying to protect you. And it's like, no, I need to know what's up just in case some shit goes down. Leaving me in the dark is not smart, right? And then you find out why leaving her in the dark is not smart as well. And again, like I was saying, Roman came into town. Dad is not doing well in the hospital. Dante caught up in some shit. Roman had to get him out of the shit. And just the stakes, and I'm probably going to say this a lot throughout this video, the stakes is so high in this book because there are multiple times that people almost died. Shit was blown up. It's kind of like an action-packed movie in your mind because Roman is really trying to do the best that he can do to try to figure out who did what to his family. He's also trying to help his brother with the grief of knowing what happened to their mom, which I think was so nefarious and such a big part of the book, and really gave license to why Dante was who he was. So you keep reading this book and you're really falling for Roman, like, white cape persona. You're really falling for it. And you're realizing that Roman also have layers. Roman also know what's going on, but not even being truthful to his siblings at all. And then the end was a plot twist for your ass. I'm going to tell you right here, I did not see that coming. All right, so this is another series that a couple of my friends read. And shout out to also Olivia Rizalate and Monet and Alana and also Ashley, and I'm trying to think, did Ray read this too? I can't remember. Was it Robin? Let's just say the whole crew. Shout out to all of them for reading this. I think they read this series and I just blanked on it without me, and then I started reading it, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know a white woman could write a book like this. This was probably one of my biggest surprises of the year until, we get deeper into, because right now we're on 3. We're on 3. We have 2 more books to talk about of being my top books of the year, right? Even though all of these are my favorite. I want to introduce you guys to a book that came out, to a book series that came out, a very long time ago. Let me see. 2013. I was 23. I'm 35 now, for reference. All right, moving on. You see it. The Diviners. This is crack cocaine. That dust. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. It's not. So, The Diviners is a series written by Libba Bray. And I'm not going to go into detail each book. I'm just going to get into just some highlights of what I thought was the best parts of this book. This book is set in the 20s in New York. It follows several characters. In each book, maybe some of the characters or all of the characters are mentioned, but each book really goes into the individual histories of each character, how they came to be, how their position matters in the feeding of the King of Crows, which is the last book. I know a lot of people didn't like the last book. I am not a lot of people. I was eating it up. And the Diviners are children of parents, specifically women, who the government did like Tuskegee adjacent experiments on to try to figure out how they can make like superhumans and how to use those superhumans for warfare. I don't think that's far off for what's happening now. I don't think any government is above that. Okay? Especially the United States. And while you're reading each book, you do learn more, again, about each character, and you like fall in love with them. Like there is a character, I'm forgetting his name, but there is a character who is like a thief, and he is really falling in love with the main character who's always mentioned in the book. His name was Sam, but hold on. Okay. I'm gonna describe each main character if I can. We have Sam Lloyd, like I said, who is a thief but a sweetheart. He also have a special ability of going invisible in times that he needs. He doesn't really know how his work in the beginning, and then as the books progress, you see that he starts to understand it. We also have Theta, who is a woman who experienced a particular type of interpartner violence, got away from that man, and she has an ability to manipulate fire. You also have Evie, who has the ability to touch anything, really, any type of object. It could be this goddamn thing right here. And when she touches, she gets the memories that is attached to the item. You also have Mabel, who is kind of like a side character, but she is worth mentioning because she's the best friend of Evie. And there are some things that happen in their relationship where I think Evie's propensity to be male-centered really impact her relationship with Mabel. And Mabel is like the daughter of very upstanding people who don't believe in like making noise and standing out and, you know, think some negative things about protesting. But there are activists, but they think activism should only be one way. But Mabel has went down some directions that is closer to anarchy. You also have Will, who is Evie's uncle, right? The woman who can touch stuff and knows what the memories are attached. Will has a very distinct history of understanding diviners, because that's who all of these young kids are. He understands how they came to be. And as you keep reading the book, you start noticing exactly how and why you know that the diviners exist, and you start to see some fracturing happening at very pivotal moments where it's like, we have to save the world, guys. We have to make sure the King of Crows don't get into this bitch. You also have Jericho, who is a very like strong, tough guy, and he was supposed to die way back, but he has a potion of, if you will, that helps keep him alive, but it also gives him a lot of strength, and he is connected to Will, who is the uncle of Evie. Then you got Henry Dubois, who is like the artist of the group, and he is just really good at making art, and that is just something that he wants to do. Then you have Memphis Campbell, who is Black. And the thing about that I also loved about this book is that there's different races, different abilities, all kind of things. But Henry is Black, and I didn't say anything about Theta, but I think Theta is from Eastern Europe. And like I think she I want to say she's Russian, but I don't believe that to be true. I can't remember. But then we have Memphis, who is Black, like I said before, and he has the gift of touching you and healing you. And I think that's really dope. That was one of my favorite abilities of all of them. You have Lin Chan, who is a Chinese American girl. She is in a wheelchair. She's also asexual, and she has the ability to dream walk. And then you have Henry. I didn't say this before, but Henry is also bisexual, and he can walk in dreams with Ling. And a thing that I want to mention about Memphis is that he has a little brother, Isaiah, who can see the future, I believe. He has the ability to see what's happening. And all of these kids, their powers make them a part of the diviners, and there is a evil entity that wants them to side with them so that they can take over the world and pretty much just remake the world in the most evilest way possible. And the reason why I really love this book series, is because the author makes sure to talk about the themes of racism and voting, and there's just so many themes that she talks about that happened in the 20s in New York at that time. She doesn't shy away from it. I think that was fantastically done. All right, I had to charge my phone, and I just made thumbnails. The hardest thing about being a booktuber is the thumbnails. I hate every one of my thumbnails. Not every other, every one of them. Every one of them. Can't figure it out. Anyway, they just be missing something. You know, I'm not really an artiste, if you will. So whatever. We're going to get to the final top books. You've heard me talk about this book. She is one of my favorite writers, period. Okay, not comma, but period. She's one of my favorite writers, and I loved everything I've read from her. I think I've read everything but one book. And without further ado, and the number 2 spot is Babel. The number 2 spot and the number 1 spot is really hard, because it's just like they both are great, and I just love this one a hair less than number 1. But let's get into Babel. Babel follows the story of this young guy named Robin Swift in 1828. He is biracial. He is white and also Chinese. And his mother died of cholera. And in the middle of being in China and sickness being all around him, his father, or this white man, comes into town. Professor Lovell is his father, comes into town and come to his house and was like, gather your things, you're leaving. And he brought him to his home. I think it felt like it was like one of his homes, but he brought him to his home and he told him, like, your job is to transcribe. I want you to always know your mother's tongue. I want you to learn these other languages. I want you to translate as much as you can. And his father was very distant. He wasn't very welcoming, and he did do something pretty brutal to him very early on in the story. And he gets himself accepted to Oxford University with the help of his father, and he meets a group of friends who are all from different parts of the world, and was really taught that this is the school that they should go to, and they all wanted to be able to transcribe the certain texts or be able to translate stuff for folks. And in this group, although most people are people of color, there is a white woman, and the way that R.F. Kuang used this white woman, her whiteness, fragility, to really set in motion something very tragic that happened in this story to a person in the friend group, and also something that ultimately impacted everyone and even the world, because her whiteness got in the way. I don't even know any other way to say it. And the reason why I love this book so much is because so many people told me I would love this book. And even though I've read R.F. Kuang work and I've loved most of what I've read, I was nervous to read this book because I was like, what if I don't like it? But as a person who is currently aspiring to be a linguist, I found the manner in which that they studied, the manner in which the history is blended into the story, the talks about how certain people have access to this element that can really impact the world, and how Western worlds really wreaked havoc over other countries to steal their goods or to kind of trick them via translation, or having folks translate text that was written by non-English speakers, but having people translate it in a way that puts the British Empire to be a very favorable thing. And I just think the research of this book was done really well. I loved all the characters, even the one that I hated to love. I was very sad about a lot of things that happened. I feel like this book is a good reminder of what happened when we don't hold our texts to us and closely to us. I think this is a reminder of how the victors really rewrite history. And I think it's also a reminder that some things should be gatekept. I know y'all heard me say this before, but I am a huge proponent on gatekeeping. The Western world have shown us that they cannot be trusted on holding certain truths. We see that now. So this was a reminder of that. Now, this last book, or this final book that got the first or number one spot in my favorite books of the year, I don't think it will be a surprise to any of you. I know this is not I know when I'm watching reviews on YouTube or reading reviews on different websites, I know this is not people's favorite book of this author, but it is mine. And I just really think that I don't think any book this year touched the physical impact that this book has on me. And when I found out that this book was coming out, I almost lost my mind. And it's just such a visceral reminder of colonization and things that has happened to Indigenous people in this country, and how a reckoning is still yet to come. And that book is called The Buffalo Hunter Hunters, written by Stephen Graham Jones. If you're new to my channel, I love this author. Stephen Graham Jones is probably my top 5. I think in a lot of times throughout the years, like rather it's like different moments in 2025, 24, 23, 22, whatever. I forget when I first started reading Stephen Graham Jones, but it was years ago. He's always been a favorite. And there's many years where he is a favorite, you know, like I think when it all boils down to it, he might be my favorite writer, but I really love Tananarive Due as well. I love S.A. Cosby. I love them all, but I feel like Stephen Graham Jones gets more of a physical reaction from me when I read his books. And this follows the story. It's a vampiric Indigenous story, and it follows the story of this guy who is Blackfeet. That's his tribe, and his name is Goodstab. And he is on the hunt for justice. He goes into this church and finds this Lutheran pastor, and he pretty much is like, I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you of how I've come to be. I spend a lot of time listening to Indigenous elders and how they tell stories, and this book just felt very familiar and very much like home to me, of being like, let me take you all the way to the beginning and walk you all the way till now. And Goodstab tells a story of what happened to his people, how he came to be, how he became the one that his people feared, and how he watched the devastation of losing land, people, and culture, all these things that happened to his people. And he's telling this Lutheran pastor this, and even while he's telling him that, the pastor is still thinking, oh, he's a savage, or, you know, very negative things towards Indians in this book. And you just watch him have no self-reflection as Goodstab is telling him this story. You think at some point he would understand why Goodstab is telling him this story, but I don't think that the mentality of this man, his position in Christianity, his position as a white man, and his position of furthering colonial efforts was going to get him to be more reflective and be more empathetic to Goodstab telling him this story of great loss. And a lot of things that I love about Stephen Graham Jones is that he doesn't shy away from gore. He doesn't shy away from telling you exactly what the fuck it is, and you got it on page. There was no guessing of what was happening to Goodstab and what he was doing. And even though Goodstab is a vampire in the book, you have this kinship to him. You feel connected to him, even in the things that he did that was not so great. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, he had to do what he had to do, and how he hunted folks down and in the name of justice for his people, I think was done in a way that I really wanted to see a story like this. I think we need stories of justice. We have so many accounts in history where justice is never served. We even look at the country that we live in, and we even look at how when census are even done, something as simple as a census, who is living in this country, and you have other. What is other? Who is represented in other? How do we quantify other? And it wasn't until recent times, even in my lifetime, that we're starting to see like American Indian or Native American. It's recent times. At first, I felt like in 2012, I wasn't seeing nothing like that. It was giving other. So I think this was a good representation of what erasure has done and how Goodstab is on a mission to fuck y'all up. So don't ever think it's cool. Don't ever think you safe. and how he went about using storytelling to add to the fear that he instilled in this Lutheran pastor, and how it ended. Chef kiss. Chef kiss. The ability to use a sort of like contemporary thing, and I'm saying like contemporary thing because it's set in two different time zones, to use a contemporary thing but have it stem from a historical context, but using fantasy, which is vampiric stuff, to tell a story about what's happened to the Blackfeet people and how Good Stab is not to be fucked with. I just really, 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 really loved this book. I do want to reread it. I really, really, really like it. And the reason why I want to reread it is because a lot of people talk about the goriness in this, and I didn't bat an eye to it. And I was like, maybe I need to reread it to fully take in the goriness to it, because I didn't think it was like out of the realm of a possibility. Like, I was just like, yeah, I mean, and that could be because I read a lot of horror, that I'm a little desensitized to it when I'm reading it, not in real life, but when I'm reading it. That could be part of it. That could be part of it. But I just want to say thank you for rocking with me as I talked about, it was technically 12 books and two honorary mentions, but my top books of the year. These are some fantastic books. I think that you should definitely read them. I know a few of them are series. One of them is two of them are completed series, and one is an ongoing series. But I think that you would have a great time, and the many representations in these were just so good to me. And if you also notice, like, a lot of them have a historical or futuristic theme in them, and that is what I really love to read in books. I don't like reading contemporary books, and if a book have a contemporary element, it needs to be short and sweet, like it is in the Buffalo Hunter. I don't like a lot of contemporary when I'm reading, and I'm just really very proud of this list, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a wonderful day. Bye. Oh, I also wanted to say I thought about doing a book of books I did. I thought about doing a video of books I didn't like the most, and I don't want to choose sadness. I want to choose joy. So this will be the only, beginning of the year content that I will do, which is the best of this, and I'm going to go back to my weekly vlogs and other random shit that I'll be doing online. So with that said, for real. Bye.